So I guess just the three of us. Just the three of us building
Three's
castles in the sky. No, that was just the two of us building castles in the sky.
Yeah, there's Three's Company. Like, Three's Company too.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Did you ever watch the show?
We're better than that.
And I think that's rather woke. Just the three of us building castles in the sky sounds a little.
Yeah.
How about Happy Days? We could be Happy Days. Sunday, Monday,
Nah,
Happy Days.
No.
What happens on Friday?
Oh, man.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Exactly.
The podcast.
So, like,
that's what
song,
happens on Friday.
Is there a Friday thing? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to the Knives Templars.
I got a piece off of the wagon that Sam Houston used to take JFK to the moon.
Pinto sauce. I like that. Pinto sauce.
Pinto sauce. You're tuned in to the Knives Templars podcast, featuring Odysseer Special Sauce Pinto.
I was a mean kid.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Eric T.R.E. Rivers.
Holy crap, I built something.
Mark Vasallo.
There would be a lot of places I would launch myself to.
Chip Shegman Carlisle. We've had a raccoon come through the screen door down in the family room. And presenting the individual creative stylings of Jason Fry.
Yeah, I've been just been doing what we do, drinking a glass of sweet tea.
And now broadcasting across planet Earth, it's the Knives Templars, coming to you live from Forkhouse Studios located in Hartselle, Alabama. This is the Knives Templars podcast. We are on air, on demand, and heard worldwide. And all of your favorite apps and
hey guys,
this is Chip Carlisle. I've got Jason on tonight. Say hey, Jason.
Howdy.
And my good buddy Mark. Hello.
Hey, Chip, how you doing?
I it's just the three of us tonight. As we were talking a little bit at the beginning of this, we've got Eric is headed over to Texas Select, going to sell a bunch of knives this weekend. We've got Odysseer has gone into hiding. We just got an email of him that says not going to be on the podcast this week, guys. So we said, okay, Odysseer. He's very dependable. I know he's out there because he's been sending me little heart-shaped emojis for the last couple of days. I'll tell you about that later. And nothing weird, guys. Nothing weird, just heart-shaped emojis. And so then we've got the Knives Templars dancers. Josh Ferran is at Batson's this weekend. Hopefully he's got some little dance routine going down there. And Big Hand Dave Moore is driving back from New Jersey, and hopefully not with that bad leg of his. I saw he had a swollen leg earlier this week from twisting it or something.
Yeah, that didn't look good.
I mean, he's got like Big Knee Dave and Big Hand Dave. He can use either moniker right now. So yeah, guys, this is Chip Carlisle with Jason Fry and Mark Vivax Vasallo. And we are the Knives Templars. Hey, we want to welcome you to the show. We settle in again, as you've been doing for 54 past episodes, to the best knife making podcast in the world. It's one of the highest internet ranked, I can tell you that, on the planet. And we work solid to give you guys your hard-earned money's worth. Don't thank us. Hey, guys, it's just how we were raised. Just how we were raised. Giving away things for free. Have you noticed as knife makers, you give a lot away for free?
Mm-hmm. That's part of the business.
Knowledge, tools, supplies, knives, just a little bit of everything. But that's all networking and it's all fun. If you're not giving things away, you're not forming friendships and relationships. You guys been to the Knives Templars lately? You did. Well, tell me what's there. I hadn't been there in 2 weeks.
I've been a bad boy. I hadn't been over.
Oh yeah, it's the same great site.
I know you can find 20% off at Ameribraid on parts and supplies if you go over there. There's a big old thing for that. But yeah, I actually went over there earlier this week because I go back and check it every few days just to make sure everything's up and running and everything's going okay. Get some
Yeah. No, it might be that way for a little while, and maybe in the summer.
Man, you were looking good.
Start it back up again,
sporting that thing. So once you get through summer, I know you live down there near the coast, so I'm sure it gets a little hot and sizzly down there. Do you get salt? Do you get the salt air in your area?
It does. Probably not in my house, but really at work,
you get the film on your windshield and stuff and all that. Just again, not where I live, which is probably about 20 minutes away from where I work, and then I work probably about a couple blocks from the bay. Right, so the perfect place for me to live would be in the North Carolina Smoky Mountains, like Brevard or around Cherokee, that area. I grew up in North Carolina, and I would love to settle back there. My grandfather was from the coast of North Carolina, worked fishing boats and shipyards and stuff like that. And I love the coast equally. But there's just one thing. If I can't get out of the heat, you can only take off so many clothes before they arrest you. You can keep putting clothes on if you're cold. Exactly. And I have a feeling the way I look, I probably wouldn't get much more than my shirt off before they arrested me because it's not pretty. But anyway, working or living around the coast, if I could get away from the salt, the sand, and the heat, I could handle it because the coast is so beautiful, especially living down around the Gulf like you do, Mark. Oh, man, you live in treasured part of the country.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed a lot of places that I've lived or lived, but if I had to pick one, I'm much happier in either hills or
would Colorado
hills or
be your spot?
So I'd love it in Colorado. That's amazing. I mean, I would be good with even northern Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, all those, starting to get up. In those areas.
I think I've never been to Colorado. My wife and I plan on going there. Now that everybody's out of the house, so that looks good. Just so you know, how far are you from Destin?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm about an hour, a little less than an hour from Pensacola.
I don't know how far that is from Destin. Probably another hour. I'm going to be in Destin. I'm going to be in Destin for a week in May. So maybe we could meet for dinner over in halfway in the middle, or you could come over or whatever. Do you have a Speedo?
Yeah.
Good. I've got one too. We could wear Speedos and 1980s Walkmans on the beach and just sit there and enjoy ourselves and drink Bartles and James. Let's change the subject on that. But I will be down there.
So that's about 115 miles, says the Googles. So, from Mobile to Destin, y'all can meet up in Pensacola, right? In the middle.
Yes, and you've been wanting to launch yourself, so maybe my wife and I could meet you guys in the middle somewhere and have a nice little.
I'm actually going to the Gulf next week too, except I'm going to Corpus Christi, so we can just reach out our hands and touch across the water.
We could all.
If you touch the water,
and
we're
if we
touching the same water.
Electrify it, we could all feel. No, that's pretty cool. We can all stick our hands in the Gulf, and we'd all be there together. That's pretty cool. That is cool. So, are you going down there for business?
Yeah, I got work down there.
Yeah, typically in August we go down to Destin for a conference in my industry as well, and it's very nice to sit inside the Sand Destin Hilton all week, which is this big resort. It's probably
with a good air conditioner. Yeah,
it's probably it's probably $1,200 a day just to stay in a room there during the on season. And here you are stuck inside, all dressed up in a big giant conference room all day long while everybody else is out on the beach. So I'm not complaining. Just so you guys know that we have some hot topics tonight. We got some questions. We got some general discussions about knives, lives, and things that make us twist our necks like a confused canine. When they kind of turn their head to the side and go, what? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I know exactly what that is.
I had a dog in about 25 years.
Yeah. And so, as we mentioned, some of the guys are traveling or at Batson's in Tannehill, Alabama. Do you guys know what Batson's is? You guys do. You guys do.
One of the original hammerheads, ever, right?
Yeah,
I haven't been. I haven't been there.
Been around for over 30 years. They have a hammer in every year, and it's at Tannehill State Park, which is one of the original foundries. I think it might be the oldest foundry in Alabama, and where they were making iron. And so this weekend, they've got people from all over the country that are coming in. And if I wasn't a dedicated man, I'd be down there tonight spending the rest of the weekend. But I'll be driving down early in the morning and going to get some great lessons and have some fun. Josh Howard's down there cooking a pig like he does every year. Josh Vran and Josh Howard are staying in the camper together, so not getting near that. Not that anything's weird. It's just they're both, rough boys. It's probably smells like rough boys in there, and that's a no homo reference. That's just like they're just country boys.
I have James Batson's hydraulic press book. That's on my list of things to do this fall is build a press. I also believe I've heard that he is an actual rocket scientist, like in his first career.
Oh wow!
I think he's fairly old now.
Well, if they've had Batson's for 30 years, he probably wasn't 16 when they started it. So
probably not.
I wonder if he knew the German from that was over here with NASA. What's his name? Von Braun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, isn't it something how you can be a Nazi and all of a sudden you're America's hero because you took them to space? Let's just not go there. I
didn't go there. You would.
No, we had a German exchange student with us in 2014. We went to the Space and Rocket Center here, and he goes, oh, he was a bad, they don't like Nazis in Germany, just so you know. And he was like, he was a bad dude. I can't believe you guys celebrated him. I'm like, I don't know, he took you to the moon. Big deal. He was a killer. And I'm like, I don't know. But suppose.
Ich spreche ein bisschen. Ich habe 2 Jahre studiert.
Yeah, whatever you said. But I will tell you that I guess Von Braun, who was part of the Nazi party, if I'm not mistaken, don't nobody sue me. I think he was hurt or wounded, broke his leg or this, that, and the other, and ended up getting brought over here and reconditioned into a fine American hero. So there you go. There's your history lesson tonight. Mark, before we get started, tell us about your new present you bought yourself. How's that going for you?
Tell
us what. Tell everybody what it is.
So that's great. Finally, actually, probably came in a couple weeks ago. Got myself a nice even heat oven, and so that came in. I think it's the 22.5 inch version. I figured, hey, go big or go home. No, I don't know. But, I figure at some point, hey, this is something that I'm going to buy now because in the future, I'm sure that, as I start making some bigger knives, that I would have said, wow, I wish I would have gotten the bigger version. So, I got the biggest one that I think I could, safely fit in my garage space where it's
if you ever go into ceramics, you could do teacups. Not a full, and maybe saucers, probably not salad plates and higher, but
22 inches. You could build those big oval serving platters, maybe.
You could. It'd have to be a big oval. It could be an oval. Those Japanese long serving platters that they've got, like at the sushi bars.
There you go.
Many things you can do.
There's your next career.
Yeah, a friend of mine in the neighborhood. I should say a friend of mine. He's passed now. An older fellow. He was breaking up housekeeping, and he had this even heat. Ceramic kiln, a little round one. I said even heat. It was Paragon, excuse me. And I was like, perfect. It was, probably 16, big enough for a big ceramic plate, and probably 12 or 13 inches, 12, 15 inches deep. I don't know. It wasn't very deep. And I was like, perfect, but it didn't go high enough to do steel. So high enough just ceramics.
I actually started, my very first heat treat oven was a little cup kiln, like that would, I think it was 7 inches square on the inside.
Yeah.
But so I made a lot of blades that were like 7 3/4 because that was the diagonal I could get.
Yeah.
But that was my very first heat treat.
Yeah. Everybody,
Paragon cup kiln.
Everybody here calls those.
I ran it up to 2,000 degrees too.
Oh, wow. Everybody here calls those chip knives. And I realized, I was like, what is a chip knife? Y'all kept saying chip knives. And I'm like, and I was like, oh, that's my name.
Yeah.
Oh, little knives. So with that, I'm glad to be here. I'm just glad to. Mark, you play beautifully.
Yes.
I had no idea.
I
had no idea.
That.
That's great. Good job. Do you?
That's how I play in my mind.
I think that's called idiot savant when you can see the notes. But you did a great job there. Thank you for bringing that to the show. Maybe I brought my Gibson up tonight. Maybe we'll play something little. Maybe. Yeah, for sure.
We'll hear you later too.
Yeah, and you got your mandolin tonight, Jason. So get ready to pull that out.
You bet.
What have you guys been up to before we get into some topics tonight? I've got something I've been up to, but I'm gonna save it for the middle. That way, I'm not first.
I got two pretty good things going on.
I know you do.
So I've been working for, I think the correct word is months. I think I started this blade back in July, and I finished the heat treat back in about November. But I finally got it to the top of my list, and I've been working on this super complex dagger that I've got 70 hours in probably so far, at least, over months and months. But I am close. I think one more good day, I can get it ready for glue up. So 2 more days, and I'm done. So I've spent hours and hours last weekend. I think I did about 14 or 15 hours over 2 days. And the whole second day, I didn't actually make anything. I was just polishing and refining and finishing all the stuff I had roughed in the day before.
Is that the one you've been posting?
Yeah, the last 10%,
awesome.
You say. Polishing.
Yeah. I've been, this one has some super secret stuff that I'll talk about another time, because I think I have come up with something that nobody has ever done. So I ran it past a guy that would know, and his first thought was, man, I've never seen that before. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Maybe it's real. I'm going
to keep it a secret a little longer.
I've been posting pictures of it all over Knife Maker on Facebook. It's got like 25,000 members. No, nice. I will tell you, I have not shared, but I showed a couple pictures to my minister and told him not to tell anybody about it, meaning you know who. And when it's all said and done, that way he can see the beauty of that collaboration. And I'll stop right there so I don't, go too far. But
don't give it away.
Yeah. But
also the other thing I've been doing is this afternoon, I cut out 22 stainless blades. Some of it fairly simple kitchen stuff, right? So I have 2 orders for a set of 6. Kids are playing in the background.
That's okay. That's okay. For a set of 6. Sounds like you need a blood stopper.
Fair. Yeah, I have 2 orders for a set of 6 steak knives, so that covered 12 of them. So
oh wow!
Got and I had told them I would have them ready after Atlanta. So I need to heat treat a few things for Atlanta, so I'm just going to do a big stainless batch because I'll put that in the oven probably tomorrow sometime while I'm working on the big dagger, and I'll just let the oven do its thing.
Do you have a Paragon or a even heat, or what's your?
I am good friends with the Paragon people.
They're in Texas.
Have an even heat.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have an even heat that I used a long time ago.
I gotcha.
So I have hardly bought any new tools in 15 years.
Yeah.
I have bought one brand new grinder about 4 years ago now. That Wilmot, and everything else I have bought used or built myself.
Yeah, there was a guy here in Alabama, Tennessee that was unloading all of his stuff, and I wanted to buy his kiln so bad, but I just didn't want to pull the money. I'm hoping that June is a very profitable time for me because I'd like to get a Ironworks press.
Oh, a press, nice.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys, you're looking at price, and it's not about price. It's kind of like what you said, Mark, is that if you buy too small, you'll regret it for the rest of your, and you'll get disenfranchised because you'll never be able to do what you want. I was looking at, they've got like a 16 or 18 ton I was looking at.
The 16.
Is that big enough to do anything I need to do, Jason?
I would think so. So they have a 12 ton also that's kind of their baby one. And there are some guys that do really impressive work with that, but they're making the most out of some limitations, I think. The 16 is kind of their standard entry level one. They have a 25 and maybe even a 40.
Yeah.
But 16 will do
now
pretty much everything most people need.
What are the limitations? The ability to press the steel, I guess, the ability to move that steel.
So it all comes down to PSI, like pounds per square inch, right? And so if you have less tonnage, then you need smaller dies to get to the same working PSI.
Okay.
Got it.
On your contact surfaces, right? So the 12, it smashes just fine. It's just you've got small dies.
Gotcha.
And it just limits the size of the work you can do. And the opposite is equally true. So if you get to a 40 pounder, an 80 pounder, you can have huge dies that can maintain the proper amount of pressure, right? So just let you work faster with bigger, but it's not like you get like extra PSI kind of,
right?
If that makes sense. Like it's not like the 80 tons like squishes it squishier.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it has to do with the combination of the tonnage and the size of your contact area.
Gotcha. Totally. We need to get an oven and a press manufacturer on the show sponsoring as well. Maybe we'll do that in the future. We'll have to wait and see. I just don't want to run to something like that. Mark, you let us know if that Even Heat's a good machine, because with them just coming out and just getting into the knife makers market, let us know if Even Heat's a good brand or not.
Right. How long have they been around? Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah. Oh, they've been around more than a year.
Paragon Hot Shot is one of the newer ones on the market, but
yeah, they're new. And Gen Ken is kind of new.
Yeah, but they're getting Hot Shot's getting good reviews. Their machines are growing, and they're always.
But yeah, Paragon and Even Heat are definitely your Ford and Chevy. For sure.
Yeah, I think I was using and when I was doing ceramics in high school, we had a Paragon way back then, if I'm not mistaken. So
probably right.
There you go. I'm going to go second.
Go for it.
I'm trying to, I'm going to do like Otis here. Look what I have made. Look what I have made. See what I've made. Okay. And just like I do to Otis here, you guys can't see what I'm holding, so I have to describe it. And all I will say is, if you've ever seen one of Otis here's knives, I have made a knife. I've started
just like that.
I've made a knife that looks just like one of Otis here's knives, and I don't want to be rude by saying just like, but it's in the style of an Otis here knife.
And here Here, let me see the side of that. You even have Otis Sears Maker's Mark on it, Don.
Actually,
I'm just kidding.
I had to grind his Maker's Mark out and then put mine on it. So,
okay.
But yeah, you'll see me posting this knife on social media. But here's my story. This knife is not perfect. My wife or anybody I've shown it to, I have said, "Can you see anything wrong with this knife?" "No, this is beautiful. This is perfect." Yada yada yada. A knife maker worth his salt, Jason Fry, let's say, just because Jason's critiqued my knives, and Josh Ferran, and I'm not going to leave you out, Mark, but I'm just I'm putting these guys up here that judge knives.
Sure,
they could see some subtle things. My fit is good. My guard has is flat and true, mates up beautifully. I'll have to show you guys later, but where I heat press my knife into my guard, I probably could have been a little cleaner there with the matchup. Nobody would notice it but me, but I probably could have been a little bit cleaner. My museum fit is 98% perfect, but it's not as good as I know I could do. My pins that go through, the round pins that go through there, I domed them over and everything because I like the way Otis here did that. And he goes, "Why are you putting those pins in?" I says, "Because I loved yours." He goes, "I don't do pins anymore. You don't need them." But I did want to do the pins rounded over like that. And I realized that my pins are probably domed a little high. I probably should have come out and been more flush with the sides because my pins kind of recess a fraction down into the handle where the dome goes in. So I filled it in with some epoxy. The average guy wouldn't notice it or care, but if I had let those come out flush to the handle's surface and then did a more shallow dome, it probably would have been a little bit nicer. And I'm not going to beat it up any more than that because this is my knife. I'm not selling it, nor would I ever, except for $45,000. I didn't think I did make that offer. That way it'll never sell. Probably wouldn't sell for $500. But the point is that this is mine. And I told Josh Ferran earlier today, he's saying he wants to see it done in Batson's tomorrow, is that while this knife has its flaws, I'm going to cough here, while this knife has its flaws that I can see, I'm just going to keep making several of them until I turn myself into a human CNC with them. And we'll just see where it goes from there. So I'll post some pictures of that on social media if you guys follow me or any of the makers pages in Facebook, and you'll see it there. But I'm trying to come up with a name for it, so people have been kind of helping me with that. So it's got to be something with skookum. I was like the Royal Skookum, the Scoopin' Royale, with cheese, the Skookum Royale with cheese instead of the quarter pounder because it probably weighs 8 ounces.
And
could be.
Instead of the little chipper, you should make it the big chipper.
Yes, the Skookum chipper. Listen at
Skookum
you.
Chipper.
Listen at you.
So hey, I was wondering how far out you let your pins stick. You said they were too proud or too flat?
No. I left them out a little proud, and they probably are out less than a millimeter on top. But they dome. The dome is a little high.
Oh, the dome.
So the dome kind of recesses a little bit, just a tiny bit, into the knife. Okay. So with that being said, if I bring that pin out a little bit more towards the surface and then just do a more shallow dome on the top, it'll be a more flush finish rather than it going down.
Because it's acceptable to kind of leave it a little proud and have a little bit of a bump there, but you don't, like you say, you don't want it where the whole dome is inside, like you talked about.
It recesses.
I try for about a 16th or a little more.
Yeah.
Like almost 3/30 seconds, about half of the pin diameter.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I shoot for.
Yeah.
But I would say, even I'm a little at trial and error on that. I've had them finish out. I'm like, well, that one's flatter than I wanted, or that one's too high.
So if my pins had been a little longer, if they had been a 16th longer total length, and my domed had been a 30-second more shallow, and where it goes over just a little bit more shallow, it probably would have been perfect. But that's knife making and learning. This is not going to be a knife I would submit for any type of guild or anything, but I'm just as proud of this knife at this point in time, because that's what I ought to call it. I ought to call it the Skookum Pinto, and give Pinto a little credit, because with all the respect in the world, I have watched Pinto come in here already a beautiful knife maker and become a knife maker that masters are saying, why haven't you, submitted to the American Bladesmith Society? And I would assume, not going to speak for Jason or any other person that would judge these, that I would assume that the man has the ability to get his knives into the guild fairly easy as well. So when I say he was my Yoda seer, rather than call him Master of Yoda seer, I just call him Yoda seer, because Master has its own designations within knife making. I'll call him Lord Yoda seer, but. Yes.
Fancy.
Yeah. Ooh. But I think we will call this the Skookum Pinto. That way I give a little credit, because he didn't challenge me to make this knife. I challenged myself wanting to live up to something, and he had a very distinct style, and now I've done it. So we'll get better at it.
What steel did you use? Microfractured 5160, or
it was unknown microfractured, and actually it is a piece of unknown steel. It's a piece that I had in my it was 3/16. It was a piece that was 15 inches long that was stuck in a plastic bag in my toolbox from something I made 2 years ago, and back then I was buying 1080, 1084, 1095. I know it's not 1095 because most of that I bought in thin. So I think it's a piece of 1080 or 1084. I easily hit, I was skating a 60 file and pretty much skating a 65 right out of the hardness. And then I think it's probably, it's easy for us guys to say, it's a 58 61 hardness, but judging based on the files and knowing our bodies aren't calibrated, it's easily a 58 60 knife. Right. Yeah, it still skates and it's solid. I went back and blued everything back up to the where the guard is and softened all that back up, and I blued just the top of the spine about 2/3 of the way down, and then went back and cleaned it all up. So I think it's a very solid blade. I think it is. And I used mild steel for my guard, and that was fine because it's great for files and stuff. I don't know. And the mild steel was a piece of mild steel from Lowe's. And I was good with that. It turned out looking beautiful. It's got a brushed finish with some Scotch-Brite. So I don't know if that's the right steel to use. On my first knife, it was great. I've got some 1/4 inch thick 1084. I've got some 1/4 inch thick stainless steel, but who knows?
So I just wanted to throw out there. I know you're kind of presenting this as your early efforts, and I'm not quite there yet. And I'm using this, and who knows really. I am actually using regular old mild steel plate for this dagger that's going to be $5,000.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to end up browning it, doing some plum brown and some texturing and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say it's as good as you make it. That it will take a patina. It will rust. But if that's what it's going to do, or if you do it on purpose, like you heat blue it or brown it or something, then there's nothing wrong with that as a guard material.
And I got a really cool, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm too old, guys. I'm too old. I got a hamon. There we go. I got this. I got this hamon in it. That's kind of. I'll show you guys, and you can help me describe it to the listeners. But it's kind of on the inside. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's kind of on the inside of the knife. like that. So it doesn't go out.
I think I remember it's like if you took your scribe and scribed a 3/8 line all the way around the profile, like it's
yeah, right but there, yeah, like and it looks like a little cloud that goes from tip to yeah. So it's really kind of cool looking. And I ended up I did a vinegar soak for about 10 hours. And I liked it, but I probably should have used some white Scotch-Brite, which I learned from you guys this last time because I'd never needed white Scotch-Brite. And then I tried to do a ferric etch, and I ended up just taking it back to its natural color, but using white Scotch-Brite, it left some darker accents in there where it didn't pull out all of that color. So like where the plunge line is and stuff. It's not, it's not obvious.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
we're just in the dips, right? Like it kind of gets just a little bit darker in the dips, and I think it just kind of highlights that. The transitions.
Yeah, it provides what I call just a little shadow, so to speak, in there. And even like my maker's mark's got a little shadow in it. So, I'm very blessed by God to have been able to have the skills to do what I did. And I'm just going to work and make it better so that next time I talk to you about a knife, I'm like, look for the errors, my friends. Look for the errors. Errors, not the arrows. The Skookum arrow. No, I'm going to go with Skookum Pinto is the knife's name, I think. So that's what I've done. Marky Mark. I like your Shegman. Excuse me, your Shegman. I like your Templars shirt you got on there. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm sponsored by Random Embroidery Designs.
Did you know I figured out in my head today that everybody that wants to prove how sharp their knife is by posting a video of it is 100% of the time already knows how sharp it is because they've already sharpened it and cut paper before they go online and do it in video. Prove me wrong.
I've put them up there without testing it first.
Well, some people,
but it's because I know.
Well, yeah, because you're not doing it live.
You're not doing it live. Like I've done it and been like,
if it doesn't work out, you just delete it.
Doesn't make it online, right? But I've done it.
Okay. I take it back. There are probably several one takes, but there's guys. You already know how knife that sharp is before you put up that final video. Prove me wrong. Anyway, I put that out there today, and so many people were laughing at it, and it was just kind of like. Yeah, we're just setting up the money shot. So, and sometimes
you only want to put the good stuff out there. That's one of the social media rules.
How many times have you been on video filming yourself? And I've done it. I've got my videos too. Cutting a piece of paper, and you go 1, 2, 3, and the fourth slice gets hung up, and you're like, crap. So then you got to go back and do the video again. It was so perfect for 3 slices, and the fourth one hangs up, and you're like, son of a gun.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Retake.
I don't do a ton of paper cutting videos, but I've done a few, and it's definitely how it goes.
I don't do paper cutting anymore. I just scrape it on my nail, and if it shaves my back of my hand and skins my nail, it's sharp.
Yeah, I can tell by how it cuts hair if it's where I want it to be.
For sure. And I've still got.
When I'm in production mode, my hands are bald on the back.
It's so funny because right now the hair on my arms is looking pretty good, but I have a feeling over the next couple of weeks it's gonna be cut. Mark, I cut you off your beautiful shirt and what you've been working on, buddy.
Oh yeah. Well, so it's been a little while, right? Because I was out the last episode because I was in Texas, for a wedding. I was hoping that some of my our Texas brethren was going to be out in the area, but we just couldn't make that happen.
Where were you?
But good time visiting.
Oh, okay.
We were in Abilene.
Only a couple hours from me and Derek both, but we just couldn't pull it together.
Yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't, really I had thought about like if I could get a full day in there. I have my son with me too, so if I could pull a full day, I can, go out early, drive down there.
Isn't there a song called Abilene? Abilene.
That's actually about Kansas, believe it or not. But yeah, it is. There is such a song.
Yeah,
women there will treat you mean in Abilene. Yep.
How are the women in Abilene, Texas?
Much nicer than Abilene, Kansas.
Oh, okay, good. I don't.
So I'll have to say, right. So I'm gonna not knives, but I have to point this out. It was amazing. So we flew into the airport. I picked up a rental car. Me and my son's driving to the hotel, and then I looked at him. We looked at each other, and we said, "What just happened?" And because we both looked at ourselves at the same time, and what really happened was that I put my blinker on. And somebody let me in to the lane right that I was going into. I was like, wow, I forgot that people in Abilene are really nice. It is, and that's why I love Texas. And there's a lot of other great places in the country that does that. But Mobile, although people are Southern polite in person, on the road, they are a different personality. Austin or
Dallas either, but Abilene and Lubbock and San Angelo, works real good.
Amarillo for sure. Right. I drive around with a Alabama state license tag on my car, and I was over in Atlanta week before last. And I had some lady in a Tesla come up, and everybody in Atlanta does 90 miles an hour on whatever the road is. And, so we are on 285, which is what goes right there where Blade Show's at, where everybody's squeezed together, and she's just pushing it over, and she's basically going to push me off the road. And, I was like, no, she's not going to do it. I'm in a rental, and if she hits it, she's paid for it. And lady, damage waiver. I used to live in Detroit. I know all about defensive driving. Trust me. So she gave up and gave me the finger, and then got in behind me, and everything was fine. But it wasn't, if she had beeped or waved or this, that, and the other, she just started pushing over into my lane. And I'm like, nah, this ain't happening. Nope, this is not happening. Nope. She could have done a little bit nicer. So you didn't experience that, Mark. That's good to hear. So we
it was a great experience and a great trip.
The best drivers that I've ever seen. There you go.
Yeah, I can go with that. I can get on board.
Instead of them damn batteries. Do you think that maybe I could sing on your album with the way you play guitar, the way I sing, Mark?
Yeah. Sure. that's
Blackbird
they will go together
in
well.
The dead of night. See, we could do Beatles. We could do, I know the beautiful people, the beautiful people. We could do Marilyn Manson.
There you go. I sang a little bit of Tool on a YouTube short the other day because Tool doesn't let their music be on there. It's like, but I know the pieces fit, right? So I threw that out there.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah. No, go ahead.
But besides for that, in between, I've been, really my goal has been to get a whole bunch of pre-heat treat, initial bevel ground blanks, ready for treat, so I can, get the oven. It's not just once and done, and okay, now I got one. So, I want to get a whole bunch done so I can maybe do like at least 2 batches of knives. So I'm made a couple more of those Serbian cleavers. I'm kind of liking that design.
Right.
I've actually modified it just a little bit as every time you make it, you feel how it is in your hand and see how the the profile is. So modified that.
You could probably sell those the fish guys down there around where you are. You know that the big fish guys would love. The guys on the docks and stuff would probably prefer to have stainless steel, whatever. If you could get those in the hands of some chefs or just good restaurant guys and make a name for yourself, because that still doesn't go dull, and they're cutting up a lot of fish. So you ought to consider it. You might find a market in that. That's a beautiful knife you made, the one you made.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate it. So I got a couple of those going, and then I made not a whole bunch, 3 or 4, maybe 4 more of those like mini hunters that I was making that came out well. And then I have 2 hidden tangs, those bigger hidden tangs that I was trying that I'm still fiddling with, because I just don't have that. I got to tweak the guard fit a little bit better. I tried on one of them. I tried to see that, hey, I wasn't going to make that shelf on the side of on the side of the tang and just see if I can, get it really flat. That didn't work out well. So then. Another one, I'm fiddling with it, just trying to find the technique that works the best.
When I learned a heat set, and I don't think you have to do that on everyone, but heat setting was a wonderful thing. Kyle Royer does it. He does a dental tool set where he takes his Yeah.
I've seen him do that.
Yeah.
With that microscope.
Since I don't have anything like that, maybe even that skill set, it's that heat set, and then go back and sand it up, resand it after it's done. You won't go down too deep. You just heat set it, but you go down and take it down, a fraction, and just get any where it distorted the steel on top out of the way, and it just turns out beautifully. As a matter of fact, I do want to tell you that them kids, your kids are just funny. I just like, I'm trying to hear what yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey guys, It's a family show. Hey,
and it's just a regular old Friday, man. They're not even worked up.
How old are they?
7. 7-year-old twins.
As they should be. Guys, I want you to go out to TR Maker. He's at tr-maker.com. Let's go ahead and rip apart the first ad tonight. But since 1980, TR Maker has offered high quality and fast service from Istanbul, Turkey, to every country in the world. You need to check out their line of knife making tools to make your job easier and more precise. You can't do without their products once you discover them. And I will tell you that if you go to one of Mark's favorite places, you can also, if you don't buy TR Maker from tr-maker.com, you can also get your TR Makers and many other things for knife making at Maritime Knife Supply. And they're at maritimeknifesupply.com. And to get great products and service in Canada and internationally, check out Maritime for great deals and service. Steel, abrasives, handle material, kilns, grinders, TR Maker products, and other tools and equipment. Know that Maritime Knife Supply provides the knife maker with what they need to make wonderful blades. Do they sell those little straps with the rubber balls in them that 7-year-old size?
I don't know. I kind of just use regular old rope most of the time with these guys. Sometimes I mule tape that nylon rope stuff.
Yeah. Gorilla tape. Don't do that. We don't need.
That's a little much.
Them boys are fine. Hey, did I cut you off, Mark? Because one thing I wanted to say is I learned that to quit sanding my knives twice. Don Watson taught me to just heat treat them and then go back in and grind them. You're going to use more belts, but I think using more belts is a lot more beneficial. And I can grind a knife without ruining the heat treat, so it's a lot more beneficial than sanding twice.
Yeah, I tend to not take them very finished at all before heat treat. Like on a forged blade, I'll take it to 120 and about 30 or 40% ground. I'll grind the profile, but I won't grind much meat off of it.
Yeah.
But like say on a stainless blade, if it's an 1/8 or 3/32 or 1/16, I just do it full thickness and I grind it all hard.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. My carbon steel blades, I just do them full thickness and then I grind them after they've been hardened and tempered. Mark, let me ask you this question, and maybe Jason will know. Would it be any benefit to keeping some of the carbonization off the knife if you wrapped high carbon steel blades in foil like we do stainless steel, or would it not make a difference?
Oh. So let me jump in first, right? Because the package that I just got today, which I haven't tried out yet, was some of this no scale 2000. I don't know if you've seen that before. And so I'm gonna try this and see how that works. That was something I was chatting with Don with, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he recommended it, said it worked real well. So I'm going to see.
Does that just blocks out the oxygen so you don't get any oxidation on the knife? Is that the concept?
That's how I thought it would work. I don't really know if it's a chemical thing or if it just blocks off the oxygen or what. Or it's just magic. Sometimes things are just magic. You put it on and magically it works.
Cool.
It's good stuff. Yeah, it's a high silica clay, I think. Did you get the one from Daniel O'Connor? Show me the sticker again.
No, I got it off the tops.
Yeah, the nuclear.
Yeah, okay.
That stuff has made it to where I rarely ever use heat treat foil anymore.
Yeah,
I use that all the time, and I don't do it on carbon steel as much, but that's because I leave them fat on purpose, right? So,
Yeah.
but when I'm doing like a Damascus guard or something that I want to make sure, I've already got it to dimension, it's already polished before you harden it, because it's got to fit, right? So I use the no scale and stuff like that.
That's right.
It works real well.
That's wonderful. Hey, Jason, you got your mandolin? All right. Let me pick up my Gibson here just a second. I'm so glad. I'm glad that we
Great
brought
our
music into this. We've got some real talent.
Yeah.
Jason's playing the keyboards tonight too, as well. Just so you know. Let's get into some topics or questions. Where would you guys like to go first tonight?
Surprise us. Surprise me.
I'm going to act like I remember.
Surprise you, and I'll surprise you with this also. Guys, we just came out of Easter, and I tell you what, during our Maundy Thursday service we had at church, at the end of the service, they removed all the adornments from the altars, everything from the lecterns and everything was covered in black drapes. Lights were dropped down and everybody walked out of the church so quietly. And I will tell you, I've never felt such despair and emptiness as to see that representation of my Lord was gone. This particular Easter, I was so excited for Easter. And I'll just say I've never experienced that at a Maundy Thursday service before. Catholic Church does it, I hear, but something our church just recently started doing. And, man, I tell you what, it really struck me. And, on Christmas, well, Christmas was another good day, but on Easter Sunday, when everything came back alive, the cross was covered in a white drape and it was adorned in flowers and everything was back to light. It just made me know how good the Lord is to us and in our lives. So much so, I want to talk to you a little bit about Redeemed Steel, and you can find them at redeemedsteel.com. They're made up of craftspeople of all sorts. There's blacksmiths, bladesmiths, metalworkers, woodworkers, leatherworkers, etc. They use their talents, God-given talents, to build homes for the homeless, give water to the thirsty, feed the hungry, share the good news of Jesus Christ, and so much more all over the world. They do this through their forge that they have, where they bring people in with needs and teach them recovery as well. Redeem uses the work of our hands and the words and the lips, words of their lips, to make everlasting impact on those they serve through Jesus Christ. So you guys go out and check out redeemedsteel.com for sure. Let's try some topics tonight. And, we've got a little bit of an expert here. And I mentioned that I had made a knife, just finished it up, that I don't want to say proud of. I want to say honored and blessed to have been able to make. And I want to continue to make 4 more. Several more of these, excuse me. But I'm going to make 4 knives because now my goal is to go ahead and try and become a probationary member of the Knife Guild. Went and read all of the applications and the signatures I have to get. And, I just, with Jason being a member of the guild, past president of the Texas Guild as well, I figured he could give us a little input into that. And number one, what kind of knives do people have to make, and how do they have to make them? And then what's the process for filling out the application and getting in? I think people don't know that, but so enlighten us.
So we've kind of danced around that before, and I'm like, I don't remember the details. So I actually fact checked myself before we had our conversation today, so I can tell you how it really is. So we have a multi-stage inspection process, and depending on where you're starting from, there may be fewer steps or there may be more. But all the inspections are 4 knives, and each one has to be 4 different knives. You can't just take the same 4 to all the inspections.
Meaning you have to make 4 new knives for each time you go to an inspection.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. You can't just bring me the same old 4 and you fixed them, or like they were awesome the first time, so you just proved your awesomeness. You don't have to keep proving it. No. So you ask a question about style. The guild does not have any stylistic requirements for the knives that we inspect for your membership. So we have guys that specialize in chef knives, or guys that specialize in slip joints, guys that do Damascus buoys. We've got a pretty good group of what I would call traditional stainless stock removal type guys.
What about like a Brute de Forge?
It better be clean.
So Understood.
We wouldn't disqualify you because you have forge scale on there if you did it on purpose. If you had 36 grit and you said that's just my style, no, that wouldn't work.
Right.
But like some of the stuff like Lynn Ray does, for example, that it's forged, just got forged texture on it. It's also like really master smithy with a really clean finish.
It has to be with intent.
Yeah, it has to be on purpose and done well on the parts where it needs to be done well.
Gotcha.
So we don't actually have any design disqualifications, right? Honestly, I'll say this in the nicest way possible. I'm not naming names. I've approved some really weird stuff. It's like I would never make this. This is bizarre looking. And yet you executed it perfectly for this weird thing, right? Like, and I joke with them a little because they come and look at my stuff that's fairly traditional, but no, we don't have a specific stylistic requirement. We are looking at fit and finish for what we would call a professional quality knife. That's kind of the way we phrase it.
Gotcha. So if somebody showed up with 4 cavalry swords of different types, would that be okay? Or does it need to be a knife?
It would.
Okay.
No, it would. We inspected a guy at a show last year that had a big old 2-handed Viking somewhat or another. No, it's just bring us 4 of what you do. They need to be the good ones that you do. They need to be your good work.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What?
But yeah, there's no requirements.
Now you can either forge a knife, or you can do stock renewal with the guild. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. We all that we ask is that you honestly disclose what you did. So that means blanks are not allowed ever, right? If somebody else made the knife and you said you made it, that's them fighting words. Right?
So you've got to profile it. You've got to profile it and cut it out.
You've got to do the work.
Yeah.
You've got to do the work. So we define doing the work as grinding the bevels and applying the final finish. So what that includes is water jet, right? So if you have parts profiled for you, it's not a knife; it's a profiled piece of steel until you make it a knife.
What if you own the water jet?
If you own the water jet, bonus points to you. Congratulations. And where do you live? I'd like to send you some business.
But if you owned a water jet, so water jet doesn't
disqualify.
You would have to be the user and the maker with the water jet.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. What we define as the handmade piece is grinding the bevels and applying the final finish.
Oh, okay. I see.
Right. So
okay.
So whether you use your own water jet or somebody else's, honestly, whether you send it to Peter's Heat Treat or do it yourself, that's a critical piece, of course, but that is not what makes it a knife.
What about your $17 Chicago electric grinder, angle grinder?
If you can produce the right level of fit and finish, we don't ask you what your tools are.
There you go, guys.
You could probably use a file, right? You can use a file and a jig and make a great knife.
I will butcher his name, and I apologize in advance. I believe it's Wolfgang Lochner, but it's spelled like Lorchner. Lochner, I believe, is how it is.
Gotcha.
He is literally world class. Was a member of the guild when I came in. I don't think he still is, but he's been around the guild a long time.
Right.
World class knife maker from Canada, and he does every bit of his stuff with files.
Wow.
And stones.
Wow.
And literally world class. I can't touch his stuff.
Is it so he saves on belts or what?
That's just his style. It's just how he likes it. I'm sure his belt budget is lower than mine, but his file budget is probably quite a bit more.
So we understand the style of knives and what you're looking for and fit and finish, and that's making sure there's no micro gaps or anything in the way that handle fits up to the tang, or if you're doing it.
So it depends. We're always looking for gaps. Whatever it is, there shouldn't be any gaps, but we'll find them. We're looking for clean finish, right? So are there underlying scratches from your grind? Are there underlying scratches from your buff or from your hand sand, right? Again, we don't specify how you have to finish it, but we're gonna notice if it's not clean.
Right. Do you take Happy Meal coupons if somebody wants to, hey, listen, that's 36 grit grind, but how about if I throw you some of these Happy Meal coupons?
Barbecue sandwich at least.
Would get you giving away a free barbecue sandwich, but you'd still get shown the door, right?
Yeah, who knows? So we you ask about the process. We've talked about the knife some.
Yeah.
The process is a series of inspections by our technical committee, some qualified inspectors. So I believe that really everybody that can produce a guild quality knife can give you good feedback. But then we've also got a group of folks who have studied a lot of the guild knives and are approved to give judgment, right?
Yeah.
The general membership is one, and the technical committee is another. So let me explain why I define that way. So if you want to join the Knife Makers Guild, you can bring 4 knives to 4 voting members and get them to look at them for you and give you feedback. And if 4 voting members think your stuff is good enough and sign off on your paper, then you can apply to be judged for probationary membership. That's the standard path, right? So, hey, look at this knife. What do you think? Yeah, that's good. Cool. All right. Then you go find 3 more guys, right? So it's 4 knives, 4 guys. It could be women. We have a few. 4 knives, 4 voting members. That will qualify you to be judged by the technical committee at a major show for your probationary status. Right. So
where could you find these 4 voting members? Is there a national directory so you could find some in your area?
There is. KnifeMakersGuild.com has a member directory.
Gotcha.
But I would also say that, it's chicken and egg. So we pick the best knife makers we can find. And then they go to knife shows wherever there are knife shows available. So decent odds, any quality regional show is going to have a few,
right?
Because we've tried hard to get nationwide representation of some of the best.
Yes, sir.
I would say Atlanta and Blade, Texas are our 2 where we're the best represented. We do inspections at both of those.
So if I'm over in Atlanta, I can find 4 people to sign off on it then, and then that same day head into the room to get the knives inspected by the technical committee.
Typically not.
Oh, okay.
Typically not. So the standard path is give us 4, and then the next inspection time you come back and give us 4 again.
I thought that would be you've got to have the first 4 inspected. You've got to have them signed off. That's when you get those.
That's what I'm saying. There's 3. There's 3. So the first one with 4 members qualifies you to get to the second one with the technical committee to be a probationary member.
Oh, okay.
And then you got to get inspected a 3rd time from the committee to get your voting membership.
Oh, okay. So, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, sir.
Hey, Jason, from the time you get your probationary, so you get 4 people approve it, then you get your knives inspected and you become a probationary member. There's a certain amount of time you have to wait.
Yes and no. So it is not prescribed by the bylaws. It used to say a year in between when we had a guild show that was once a year. Now that we have kind of expanded our inspections to Atlanta and Texas, we have allowed that if you bring us 4 new knives, you can do the next one, right? So if you do probationary at Atlanta, you could come back and try for voting at Texas. Or if you do probationary at Texas, you can bring us some new knives and try at Atlanta. because again, we're not as much about have you jumped through the hoops and have you waited long enough in between things as we're about can you produce a professional quality knife. So we have not defined the time except by intentionally defining gaps in between the inspections. Make sense?
Right. So I was just going to say that if you bring 4 blades to Blade Show this year, you're just going to get 4 voting members to sign off on them. Does that give you any credentials?
It does not.
Okay.
It does
just
not.
means
it gets you set up to be a probationary inspection at the next
So you'll come to the next one, present your 4 knives at that time.
Correct.
So all you've done at that point is earn the right to come back with
sort of
4 more knives.
Pre-qualified. So we kind of pre-screen people, and then we screen them again, and then we screen them again.
So if I stop...
To me, that's part of why the guild is important, why it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because if you've got that voting tag, you have put in the work, put in the time, and had quality inspections and quality feedback.
Yes.
Multiple times. That's a piece of the value that we
So
offer.
if I stop at Bucky's and buy 8 knives, I couldn't present 4 to the... and then 4 in the other room.
We would know.
You would know. You would know.
Yeah, we would definitely know.
Is there? Let me ask you about the time, right? Like, so where you said there isn't a minimum time. Does your probationary membership expire? Like, say somebody gets real busy and a couple of years goes by. Do you have to redo your probationary membership?
Question, but I believe the bylaws say 2 years, maybe 3.
What do the do the dues run to be a member of the guild if you're in a?
So the 4 signature thing we've talked about is a $25 fee.
Yeah.
That will get you all the way through your probationary membership period. We don't make you pay dues until you're a voting member. So
gotcha.
You'll get a name tag. It'll be bright red and say probationary on it. So you get some status. You get no rights.
That just means voting members can identify you and punch you in the arm.
Sort of.
Yeah,
yes,
I
that's
got
where
you.
the hazing
gotcha.
begins,
Yes.
is with the red.
I've been in a fraternity. I know all about that.
No, so $250 a year when you get to the voting membership status, which incidentally is about less than I pay for my professional certification in my day job. So
what are the benefits of being a guild member? Certainly, I would say recognition.
Yeah, I mean, a few ways to phrase this. So one would be when you have that tag that says voting member, or you get rights to use the guild logo on your promotional material with your voting membership. So when a collector sees that, they know good and well that you're a part of the organization that's been around for 53 years, I believe,
right.
52 years. You know, Bob Loveless was in that. Warinsky was in that. You're a piece of the Church of the Knife, kind of. You have joined the club, and that includes having gone through a difficult screening process, right? We do not just let anybody in. we make you produce knives of quality,
right?
And be a person of integrity also. So kind of like other guilds or unions, if you're dirty, we can kick you out, right? So if you've made it through the gauntlet of inspections and you're a Knife Makers Guild member, and you start, buying blanks from a knife supply and putting handles on them and putting your maker's mark on them and saying you made them, that is a fireable offense.
That's a black ball for sure.
Definitely. And if you do dirty business, right? So you take money for orders and don't deliver timely or at all, again, we'll drop you. So it's like a lot of the old time guilds or professional organizations that currently exist. I mean, it's a guarantee of not just quality, but also of integrity.
Yes, sir.
Business practices. I mean, I'll say it is a lot like a professional knife making license, kind of. Makes sense.
So the difference between the guild and American Bladesmith Society, there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of very distinct differences. But as I understand it, with ABS, you have to forge all of your blades. Is that correct? So this, while I forge,
I'm a member of both. And okay. I'm not on the board or any. I have no standing in ABS except as an apprentice. But I have been a member for a long time.
Same here. Same here as apprentice.
So they are about the preservation of the forged blade, is what I believe their mission statement says. So they require forging. That's their bread and butter. That's what they exist for. They also require a very high level of fit and finish for their journeymen and masters.
Yes.
They do have more specific time limits than the guild does. I think you've got to be an apprentice for 3 years unless you take a special class, and then it's 2. Before you're able to test for journeyman. It's got to be, I believe, another year, maybe 2, before a journeyman can test for master. They've got a totally different structure.
Both equally impressive organizations, though.
I believe so.
But I think that, you're presenting more knives to get into the guild. It doesn't make you less of a knife maker because you're ABS.
No, definitely not. I would say
ABS, you have to have a whole different skill set to get into that as well.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And
a good
don't take this the wrong way. They are certifying I would say excellence.
Yeah.
We are certifying professional grade.
Gotcha.
I don't want to say our standards are lower. Don't quote me on that. But it's different. It's different.
Yes, but the guild,
you can get away with a little more with us because ours is more about growing you and giving you feedback.
Yeah. And
bringing you into the family and guaranteeing your position as a person of integrity in the industry.
Yeah.
Theirs is about maintaining a difficult to achieve certification.
Yeah. You're making Hanzo blades for Kill Bill kind of guy. If you're what was his name? Something Hanzo, wasn't it? Something a Corey,
Tori. So. It's been a minute.
Corey Hanzo.
I got
whatever.
Distracted by Uma Thurman and forgot about the knife.
But the thing is with the guild, I'm forging and have been for quite some time. You forge. Most of the guys on here forge. I think Mark's going to be forging before we know it. The thing is that it gives though another avenue for people that are not forging blades.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's very good. Correct. That's very good.
Yep. So go ahead, Mark.
So I'm sorry, I got to keep going back because all these great, not great questions, but questions that I never thought about for this. Now that Chip's really been talking about it a lot. So you said that, hey, the requirement is that, hey, you have to grind and fit and finish, right? Bevels and fit and finish. So does it matter how you put your bevels on there, right? Like, can somebody put their knife in a jig and then grind bevels on there? It doesn't matter. So you don't have to freehand grind or anything like that.
Who has invented, in my mind, the world's absolute best jig system, right? He has a special platen with some pretty cool engineering and a jig and a table. And, man, it can put a dead nuts beautiful 600 grit finish on a knife. Right. I mean, just perfect.
So you got like a slide table or something?
Yeah, it's a big slide table.
Yeah.
So the Moen platen,
man,
is, to me, top of the line in terms of jigs. Jerry Moen was on the guild board when he invented that thing.
Yeah.
So I promise you we don't check. We're about the end product. Did you do the work yourself? And is the end product good?
I will tell you, you bring up a good point about jigs because I own 2 Origin jigs. And I will tell you what, I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, was like, that was my jig design. They took it. So I don't want to get into that other than supposedly Origin Blade Maker's jig is akin to someone else's. But with that being said, when I was a new maker, after I got rid of my 2x4 Trollski jig that I learned to make watching his videos, I went to the Origin jig and I use it differently. About 75% of the time, I will hand grind, especially if I'm doing a full grind on the knife. But if I want a good, crisp, clean, limit my opportunities for screw ups, I go to my jig, and I don't think it makes me less of a knife maker because you can screw up a knife with a jig just almost as easily as you can freehand.
Yep. You sure can.
So I'm not ashamed to use a jig at all. It's a tool at your disposal. Yeah.
Nobody's busting you for using a caliper or a belt grinder.
Yeah.
It's just another tool as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Josh was saying he uses ichrometers, so.
That's legit sometimes. So we've kind of circled around. I got one more point to make. wrap things up a little. So I've talked about 4 knives to 4 members.
Yeah.
Right. As the way to qualify for probationary inspection.
Yes.
Right. But what if you are, what if you're like freaking, let's see, who's a good example? Johnny Stout. Or if you're a well-known, well-established knife maker, or some of the guys that come over from South Africa, right?
Yeah.
How good do you have to be to feel like it's a good business decision to fly to the other side of the world to sell a knife? You got to be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So there is a category of, holy crap, these are really nice. And the technical committee can let you, if you get inspected by them, let you skip straight to the probationary inspection, right? So there's the standard path where you go 4 to 4. But if your stuff is really, really that good, if you're a well-established knife maker and you're coming in, we can fast track you straight to the probationary inspection without having to get the 4 signatures if you go to one of the technical committee folks.
I know one of those, don't I?
You do know one. I'm one of those.
But I probably ought to go the normal route, just knowing where I'm at right now.
Probably so. I would honestly agree.
Well, thanks.
So one more thing. Again, I do not want to come across as saying that our standards are lower. That's not the point at all. But our standards are different on purpose. But we acknowledge up front that the ABS Mastersmith level is harder than our inspections. Okay.
Yes.
So if you have passed the ABS Mastersmith, we give you immediate reciprocity. So we will say,
gotcha.
We will let you be a voting member without jumping through hoops, because the hoops you have jumped through are more complicated than the hoops we would jump you through.
Right.
Okay. Now they don't do that for us because our standards are different, and we're not talking about forging. I mean, it's different. It's apples and oranges.
Right.
But we have Mastersmith reciprocity. So I've told you, like, the long way, the fast way, and then the really fast way. So that's the 3 ways kind of that you can achieve voting membership in the guild.
Well, let me say this, just to throw this in here, there's a lot of sandpaper that goes into making guild and Bladesmith Society knives. And one place I encourage you to go, and I have been using a lot of their paper and belts lately, is Phoenix Abrasives. And you can find them at phoenixabrasives.com. Phoenix Abrasive offers great prices, selection, quality, and quick delivery. They have a complete inventory of belts, discs, rolls, wheels, and anything else you need to get the job done right. If you enter Templars 10 at checkout, you're going to get 10% off your next order. So head over to Phoenix Abrasives and let them know the Knives Templars sent you by putting in Templars 10 at checkouts. Appreciate that. Back on the guild. So what if you have 4 knives, you show up and 3 of them are really nice and they pass, and they say, hey, this 4th one here, can you bring that 4th knife? Can you bring those 3 and a 4th knife back next year?
I would hesitate to say yes to that.
Got you.
The answer is maybe, but I would hesitate to.
You better know the answer from a voting or technical committee or somebody,
right? So
from the guild before you do that.
Even though I'm on the board and I'm on the committee, I would still confer before that decision was made.
Well, T totally understand. You don't want to show up and say, well, you showed us these 3 last year, and okay, this one's, but so
no, we require new knives at each inspection for sure.
Got you. So,
and what I didn't want to comment on was if they're all pretty good except for one. That's an interesting discussion. We do fail people sometimes
for that one knife, or
if it depends on how bad it is, depends on context, depends on it depends on a lot of things.
Right.
It depends on too many things for me to say one way or the other.
Totally understand. There's more, last question I'll ask on this. Is there more subjectivity along with objective determining when you're looking at a knife versus, say, I've heard that when you go through like your Mastersmith and all that they're getting out measuring devices and they're measuring grinds and they're measuring angles and all this stuff.
So in one sense, there is more subjectivity because we don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't measure. I wear glasses. We will pull out an Optivisor sometimes.
Yeah.
We're looking at them hard.
Well, I actually look at one of my knives. I've joked about it on the show before, and while we had just met each other, just like you would meet a maker that's walked up, looking to get their first 4 knives in, you were very nice. I walked away feeling honestly a little dejected, but the things that you pointed out were, well, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean,
I promise you, we hate doing that.
No. But if you don't do that,
super unpleasant.
If you don't do that, people don't learn. So I didn't walk away with my lip on the floor. I walked away feeling a little bit like, well, crap, But I also
challenged you, and you worked your butt off the last year.
I did. But when I went home on Sunday that night, I put that last 10% into it, and I think I might have emailed you back at that time and said, I fixed everything you said it was wrong with it.
Right. That's right.
So that is very valuable, and I did work to become better this year. Gave away a lot of knives in the process. So.
Yep.
Hey, I encourage people to go out and what is the website for the Knife Guild? I should have put that in our notes here.
KnifeMakersGuild.com.
So you guys that are interested in that,
intuitive.
yeah, and there's an application process. There's paperwork to fill out. There are you've got to go see voting members to get 4 knives approved.
We will have a table at Blade Show. Give me 2 seconds. I will look up the number.
Sure.
But we will have our annual meeting there. There will be 75 probably voting members.
Yeah.
We will be very well represented at Atlanta.
So
in a couple of months,
just like going and buying a house or getting your driver's license or anything you're doing new in life, you need to go to the webpage. You need to read and understand everything's there so you don't show up and waste your time and feel dejected because you didn't get to where you thought you would on that day. Because while he said that it's not as difficult a process as American Bladesmith, again, we're not saying it's any less of
it's a different kind of hard.
A different kind of hard, yes. But but there's still very strict rules to get in, and that's the importance of a discussion like we've had tonight.
They got to be good. That's why I keep saying professional grade. They've got to be good.
And professional grade is not what you see for those $99 knives at the cowboy stores around the United States.
Definitely not.
They're really going to have to step it up. So if
they gotta be good.
If you're at Blade or any knife show, if somebody is a master or a guild member, a voting guild member, take a look at their knives. But also, I will tell you, one thing I've noticed: a lot of masters knives, a lot of guild knives, the ones they have those perfect knives, and then they have their knives, the other knives they're selling. And there's no disrespect in that. But I do see the ones that they put a lot more time into versus the ones that they're making a great EDC knife that doesn't. So if you're
in my mind, you're kind of trying to hit a price point with some of that stuff,
perfect,
right? And it's hours for dollars.
So right? I'm saying if you go to everything on Kyle Royer's table is probably going to be almost a master level knife. But if you go to somebody's table, don't assume everything you see there would pass a guild or a master inspection or a journeyman inspection.
That's
you need to ask, if you're talking to those guys about getting in, you need to say, what knives do you have you can show me that are at that level? And do it without insulting them. Don't insult their knives. Just say, if I was going to present a knife, can you show me something that would be acceptable for a journeyman's test or a guild probationary test?
And everybody that's been...
Which one would I spit on?
And everybody that's been through those processes would be...
So which one spit on them all? I have not spit on my knife yet. I'm waiting to see Pinto. I want him to spit on it in June.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
or I could take
the Knife Makers Guild. The Knife Makers Guild has table 1M.
1M. Money.
1M. I will be at 5K myself, and I'll be next to Les Adams. I don't remember which side he's on, whether he's K, L, or J. But Les is right next to me, and he is the head of our membership stuff.
Gotcha.
So row 5. Table K, J, L, somewhere in there, or 1M. we can
very good. 1M. And I will be sitting there signing autographs at the Jason Fry table, providing him a little backup for PP time, and got to go grab a sandwich time, and got to go to the guild meeting time. So feel free to come over. Like I said, I will be signing autographs, and possibly even with the great Mark Vasallo. You may even see some of our knives up there for sale on his table, because we tend to put his under the table while he's there when he's gone. Yeah. Jason Fry made these. Yes, this is his Bigfoot logo. It's a small pattern that he's done early on in his career before Forged in Fire. They're very valuable. So guys, if you're interested in a membership, read up and email us here. Email us at knivestemplars@yahoo.com, and we'll forward it on to Jason, and he can set you up with the right people, or even answer questions yourself.
Yep. Sometimes I can't help, but I do know people. I mean, I was joking about that at work the other day. All I do is really introduce people. So yeah. I'm happy to help.
Well, let's throw in a question so we don't go down just topic. We'll see what we get to tonight. If not, we'll save them for another show. I got a question that came in from somebody that says, knivestemplars@yahoo.com. Hey guys, when I heat treat my steel and quench it, sometimes I get these round bubble looking spots that have to be sanded out. What causes this, and can I prevent it? We've all seen that little round bubbles appear at some point in our knife making. So,
yeah. So my take on that is heat.
Yeah.
And I would say too much heat at too long of a time. Right. So that's not to say you ruined your knife. No, it's not the point. If you've thermocycled and brought your grain back down to where it needs to be, those bubbles can still stay.
Yeah.
And you're okay. But at some point in that knife's development, that surface got too hot, or stayed in the forge too long, or both.
Yeah, you're developing not necessarily liquid metal, but you're allowing that metal to start It's in that early transition stage.
No, I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd say it that way. I would say, so all forge scale is fancy rust, right? It's just oxide.
Yeah.
So putting steel in at that much heat, you're rusting or decarburizing that.
So those are decarb type little.
They're decarb.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got you. I didn't realize that.
So yeah, it's just where you've developed forge scale where you shouldn't.
Well,
you've got a grind underneath it, which 5 thousandths, 10 thousandths. I mean, not very much.
Yeah.
2 good passes on a sharp belt.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a ton. You cannot hand sand it out very well. You need to remove more than that.
Yeah.
You better grind it. I
found that out.
20 grit too, not a 400.
Yeah, I would say that on my most recent knife, I saw that on my mild steel guard. I was using a torch to heat up my guard to heat set it onto my blade, and I noticed it once I quenched it just to cool it down so I could work with it. I had some little round bubbles that. Ironically, it's coincidentally, that's the right word here, Jason. Coincidentally, I went to a 120 belt on my Ameribraid grinder, and they were gone. And I didn't worry about them too much being on the Ameribraid, being on the mild steel guard. And like I said, they were gone at that point. Speaking of that, I have to tell you guys, I love an Ameribraid and the things that they have to offer. You can find them at ameribraid.com. And the owners, Eric Abe and Kevin Rourke, have developed one of the best grinders, accessories, and tools on the market. Take a look at one of their 3 packages. They have the Mastery package, which has everything. Not everything they have to sell, but it's the most complete package. Nothing you really need beyond that to make great blades at that point. They have a Foundations package, which has a little less than the Mastery. I don't think you get the stand with the Foundations package, but is that correct?
The big difference, the Foundations package has the different than the Great Grinding package, has the variable speed.
Oh, okay. Now, do you get a stand? VFD. Do you get a stand with the? Yeah, I don't think you do with the Foundation. You can order one. You can order one. But Mastery comes with all of that. Foundations is the middle package, and Get Grinding is the least expensive option you have. But I will tell you, with all 3 of those versions, you're going to make great knives. Look at Otis here's a great example. Look at Eric Rivers, great example. No variable speed drives. They've learned to work with their grinders, like I learned to work with a 2x42 grinder, running it like a bat out of hell for years. Just learn to be careful. I probably would not have ground pre-heat treated knives on my 2x42 because I would have definitely ruined steel. But even their smallest package is great. So what's good for you is that when you call Ameribraid, you're going to speak with one of the owners guaranteeing the best customer service around. They offer great parts and accessories. And I'm here to tell you, if you put in Templars 20 at checkout, you're going to get 20% off parts and accessories. That's an amazing offer, and you should enjoy that before it ends. I don't have an end date on it, but maybe it'll last forever. Maybe it won't. Take advantage of it now. As a matter of fact, just because I'm a change parts and preventive maintenance kind of guy, I ordered 2 new rubber roller wheels for my small wheel jig. Not the small wheels. This is the the rubber wheels that the belt comes around and then goes around the small wheel. I ordered a couple of those just as backups because things wear out. You never know. I've actually got, probably, without excluding the chassis and the motor, I have got probably 75% of the change parts I would need to replace something on my machine at any time. So Templars 20 at checkouts will get you there, my friends. We'll get you there.
Those rubber wheels that you're talking about, those are pretty important, I think, to have another one, because actually I think the grit
can wear them down over time.
Right, if I'm correct, right? The grit of because the grit actually goes around that rubber piece. It's not the back of the belt.
Yeah, and if they put a steel wheel in there, that grit would just eat that down too. It's probably going to be and this is how important it is for me to have change parts. I had not adjusted something correctly one time, and I put a flat spot on one of my metal wheels. And I had a backup, and then I ordered 2 more because they use that same 2-inch wheel in several areas on my parts. And also I'm like, well, I'll just get 2 more. They weren't that expensive, and I've got parts. Now, what do I do with that one round wheel with a flat spot on it now?
Paperweight.
No, it's great for putting sandpaper around and going in and hitting hand sanding rounded edges. So, and it's got this nice flat. It's got this nice flat spot that my fingers set on. It just goes. So it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. So go out and visit Ameribraid.com. So that's about those bubbles you see. You guys, let's do a couple more questions. Guy says here, sometimes when I drill my scales, when I go back to set my pins, it is too tight, and if I force it, I have cracked my scales. Mm-hmm. I am using the right drill bit and clamp everything when I drill my holes. Why does it not line up when I go to glue up? I know the answer to that, but
what do you think it is? Tell me.
Well, you don't have good flat scales. Now, I've done antler scales where there's a way to do that as well. But if you're using wood, I put all of my scales on my my disc grinder, and then after that I take them back to my granite block, and I run them through there and make sure that when I put those scales together on both sides that I have uniform scales. And you'll know they're flat is when you lift one up, it kind of sticks to the other and before it separates. Right. What happens is you put these scales on here that they look flat and kind of lay up, and then you clamp your knife on top of that, and then you drill down through your holes, and everything lines up perfectly. So if you were going to put your pins through the handle at that point with the knife on top of your scales, it's going to line up 100% of the time. What do you do that's different? You slide that tang in between the 2 handle scales, and all of a sudden something's just a fraction off on something that has to fit almost machined perfect. Well, it does have to fit machine perfect. And at that point, when you go to put it in, it doesn't line up properly. It pushes out, and you end up either putting a stress fracture that runs out the front of your handle, or you'll knock out a chip, probably about 2 to 3 millimeters deep, on your handle where it digs in and knocks a little chunk out. And then you're like, what do I do now? And you throw the scales away. It's all about truing up your scales. Well, what about antler handles? Now, guys, I have made a buttload of knife scales out of antlers. What I do with those is when I get my handles flat on the inside, on the surface that's mating up with the knife, I drill out one side only. And then I clamp that on there with the other one all lined up, turn the knife over, and go through. I hold them by hand. I don't clamp them. I know they make special clamps and stuff, but I hold them by hand and go slow. I go back down through my existing hole of the one I previously drilled through, go through my knife tang, and then down through my knife. And I go all the way through, and I have a little piece of wood, a little piece of pine or something that's backing up the back of that, so that when it goes through, it doesn't blow out on the other side. And you go very slow with a sharp drill bit, and you're less likely to have any blowouts. So that's how I do when sometimes you have to have an uneven surface. So I would say spend some more time, even if you order your scales from one of the handle suppliers or from Amazon or anybody, and they look perfectly flat. Remember, put the time in to make sure they're perfectly flat. And you can't beat a good $12 set of calipers from Harbor Freight to go in and measure all the way around and see if you see any big distinct differences. Did I pass that test, guys?
I think so. There is one other point that I would like to add, though, that I think is important.
Sure.
Because you said, the question said, I used the right size drill bit, but it still didn't work. And that was a red flag in my head. So there is plenty of debate in the knife world about what size drill bit you need to use for what size hole.
Yeah.
There are two big schools of thought. One would say you need to use a drill bit that is slightly oversized for your pin material. So, a few thousandths larger drill bit than your pin material to avoid that problem. It makes the pin not be tight.
Yes.
That gets you into often like letter drill bits and some pretty, stuff you can't buy at the hardware store.
Right.
But that's one approach. The other approach is the one I've taken, where I just check it. And if it's still too tight, I will sand the pin down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do that because I only buy 3 sizes of drill bits. Or 4
Same.
all the time.
Same,
I
yeah.
don't have to buy a bunch of weird crap. I just buy 16th, 3/32, 1/8, and quarters, and 3/16. That's it. So 2 ways. Yeah, like I said, some guys will advise, and they're not wrong, using a little bit of an oversized hole.
Yeah.
I will sand down the pin itself when I find it tight. Another issue.
I round over the pin just a hair on the edges, just so it's not grabbing as it goes through.
Correct. I'll put a little bevel on the front before I tap them through.
I call it a museum. I call it a museum fit, but then I sand it flush.
There you go. Another thing that's important is that not all handle material acts the same way. Okay, here's what I mean by that. So if you drill a hole through mesquite or something like that, regular hardwood, Osage, something like that, it's pretty close to dimension. If you drill a hole through canvas micarta, the little fuzz in the material will make that hole act very tight on the same exact drill bit, the same exact pin size. The oily woods are somewhere in between. Again, I'm not ready to give a treatise on the different ways that works, but I can tell you that some materials kind of almost shrink back into the hole after you drill.
Right.
Canvas micarta is bad about that.
Especially if you're forcing drill bits through.
Mm-hmm. If you got more heat, you get more squirreliness. Yeah. For sure. Another thing though that's pretty straightforward is that you can get away with more on some materials than others. Yeah. So if you've got a canvas micarta and you drilled a 3/32 hole and you got a 3/32 pin and it's acting stupid for you, you can still probably hammer it because it's micarta. If you try the same thing with mammoth tooth or mammoth ivory or snake wood, you're going to end up with lots of little pieces, right? So
yes,
you just have to mess with it, honestly, and learn what you can and can't push.
Yeah,
as I say, some qualified folks get around that by drilling a slightly bigger hole,
and nothing,
a little more risk in exchange for having fewer drill bits.
Nothing magical is going to happen when you put some epoxy on there and start pushing it through and trying to tap it through with a knife. Except you're going to have a failure. Reason being, epoxy is not going to lubricate a misaligned pin or something that's caught up. It's just, if anything, you're going to have a mess because now you got to take it all back apart.
Yeah. So the a little bit of glue can help you with what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Just the tightness. That's a different issue than what you've talked about, which is misalignment. If they're not square to each other, you're trying to drive a straight pin through a curved hole.
Now you could use spaghetti. You could use al dente spaghetti noodles for pins, and then as they dry,
copper electrical wire will kind of chase,
especially braided wire. Yes. So other than that, you got to make sure it's all about fit and finish, and you'll actually find that your pins look much better when you take the time to put in those few extra steps that nobody ever knows about that you did. Will make that knife look better at the end. It all enhances the fit and finish. One other thing I want to tell you guys, since we're talking about pins, quit overheating your pins when you're sanding your blades. Those little black lines around your pins, they're obvious. We see them. What would the guild say about that? Would they say you overheated your handle, or would they
point it out for sure?
Whether it passed or not, it'd be pointed out.
If it was bad, it could fail you maybe.
Yeah.
Honest truth, that's far enough down the learning curve.
Yeah.
That if you're boogering that, you're boogering other stuff too.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was putting a black halo around my wings, my pins.
Yeah. I heated it up to red hot and pushed it through.
But seriously, guys, slow down. If you need to turn your grinder down to 10 or 20%, or if you're using a grinder with no speed control, get those things cut as flush and do light, frequent passes that you're letting it cool down. You're not going to be dipping a handle in water. Step back, grab a beer or a Kool-Aid or a Coca-Cola and put on your favorite Devo album. Do a little sanding, step back, and when it's no longer hot on your finger, go back and grind a little bit more very lightly. Quit putting black spots on your pins. It's not very attractive and it kills your epoxy. So that's a Templar's tip this week. That's a Templar's tip. Matter of fact, if Jason wants to read us a tip this week, we can go into that. But before, I didn't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say,
give us a little break there to go.
No, I was going to say, before we get into that, I also wanted to say that if you guys are looking for great handle and pin material, because when I buy handles, I always buy drill bits with them. You can sharpen bits, and I've learned to sharpen bits because I think it was Jason telling us how he sharpens bits. So I tried it, and darn if I couldn't do it. But whenever I buy new handle material or pin material, a lot of times I will buy some bits from Pops at that time and throw them in with the handles because I know I've got a bit that's made for that size. Not that you can't go to Lowe's or somewhere else and get what you're looking for, but I know I get something that's matched up to that, and I always have some knife sharp ones laying around. So what I would tell you to do is you need to head to Pops Knife Supplies and see what they have to offer. And that's popsknifesupplies.com. I'll be buying from them down at Batson's Blade Symposium tomorrow. They've got a setup down there, but Pops was started almost 40 years ago. I guess it's over 40 years ago now by James Poplin, an established knife maker himself, and has served the knife making community and industry with leading prices and actual shipping costs. You get a refund on the difference. It's run today by Alan Searles, Joey Berry, and Dirk Lutz. They're full-time knife makers. Their focus is customer service and great products and prices. Give them a check out today. You're going to be very happy that you did. I told you that Jason probably plays the keyboard. That was beautiful. Beautiful, Jason. Hey, in addition to being a great keyboardist, mandolin player, knife maker, you're also an established author. So take us through some knife makers tips and tips and trips and tricks this week.
So I tipped my hand a little earlier on this one, but I wanted to circle back a little bit. This is tip number 269 out of my book, 384 Knife Making Hacks, Tips to Make Knives Like the Pros. Here's what it says. While waiting for the kiln to heat up, take this time to work on something else. Sweep, clean up, build a slip joint if you're a fixed blade maker, fire up the forge if you're a stock removal guy. The oven takes as long as it takes, so you might as well be productive. So I kind of hinted that my plan for tomorrow is exactly that. So I've got a big fat batch of stainless knives, and my oven is going to take 2 hours and a half to get up to 1900 degrees. 2 hours.
Is it 110 volt or
it's 110
or
volt.
110, 120? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little smaller one. It's 18 inches deep, but it's a little smaller chamber. Again, I bought it used. It's what I could find. But, I know it's going to take me. It always takes all day to do a batch of stainless knives. Because by the time you get the oven up, get all your knives prepped. Well, by the time you get all your knives prepped, if you're prepping 20 of them, you put the no scale on them, you drill the holes. You've got to do some work. I mean, it's a half a day work to get 20 ready.
Right.
And then it's a half a day at least to get them all hardened. I'll put them in dry ice and stuff overnight and temper them probably the next day. It's kind of my typical pattern.
Do you brush that no scale on or rub it on with your finger, or is it just a dip?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little sponge.
Oh, okay.
A little sponge brush.
I got you.
So I'm going to do all of that
Jason,
though while I'm working on this crazy
quick.
dagger that all the fittings and stuff that take forever. So that's the
plan.
Yeah,
there you go. Efficient use of time. Hey, with when you're doing these batches, right, in your heat treat oven, say like you have multiple knives in at a time.
I don't know if I could pull, and then I'll do 22 at a time. That's a little too many. I may have to do 2 batches.
Well, yeah. I guess my question is that you can only quench Correct. One at a time, right? I mean, and so does the oven drop quick enough?
You've got enough thermal
like when
mass
you pull one out
that it doesn't really matter.
Okay,
it will. Yes, thermodynamics doesn't go away just because it's oven, right? Like, of course, you do lose some heat, right?
That's right.
But it's a small space, and you don't open it at all until the steel itself is up to the right temperature. The air in the furnace will go out, but the steel temperature changes slower. So I honestly have never, ever worried about it. I pull them out one at a time, close the door in between. Doing a big batch, you have to cool your quench plates off. I use aluminum plates for my stainless stuff. You can get 2 or 3 or 4 depending on the knife. Then you got to dip them in some water to get them back cool.
Need to get those cooled quench plates. Have you seen those?
They have like water ones or something.
I think speaking of that, let me just tell you guys, housemade.us, Brian Houseward over there, he offers not only a 2x72 Revolution grinder, he's also got the new 3-inch wide grinder. What is that, a 79-inch belt or something like that? Check it out over there. He's got the forges, the Apollo Forge, and build plans, but he now offers quench plates and so much more. So go to Housemade Industrial and check out the great Apollo Forge, the Revolution 2x72, and check out those quench plates if you're looking for something to help get that done. But this right here is going to help me segue into our next topic, and that would be Majestic Forge. And you can find them at majesticforge.com. Majestic Forge offers gas forges ranging from 2 to 5 burners, and with many different forges to choose from, we're sure you're going to find the one that fits your needs. The forges on Forge and Fire, those are Majestic Forges. So I'm telling you, hey, I even believe that Bob Dylan, the singer, does artwork. I think he's using Majestic as well, or he was in a picture I saw. So go out and check out Majestic Forge. But why I brought that up is hot setting guards, just general guard setting on a hidden tang, whether it be brass, copper, or steel. And I learned a lot about that because I've heat set 2 guards now. And the first thing I will tell you is if all you have is a torch, and you need a yellow gas torch, you don't need a blue gas torch. To get that guard heated up the way you need, the yellow gas is going to do it. I use a Benzomatic. But what I found out, guys, is if you've got a forge, go to it. I found out I wasn't getting hot enough by the time I transferred and got my hammer set up and was ready to go. I decided to put my guard in my forge on a piece of ceramic, let it sit there, and let it get just under yellow. Took it to my tang and popped it, and it did perfect the first time. So it's getting enough heat in that. But as far as heat setting guards, guys, if you're doing hidden tangs and you've got a guard on it and you want to get that perfectly flush inset fitting that I was this week, I watched some good videos. One I will. Oh gosh, what's the master smith that you had mentioned him earlier in the show that does all of the beautiful forge work?
Lynn Ray.
Lynn Ray. Yeah. I watched a video he did where he's heat setting a guard on a buoy that he's making, and I just followed that. I put it in there. So basically, your guard is already as far down as you can get it. You're just barely seeing any light, if you can see any at all, where that guard is now set down on that knife. So I put it in my forge, or you can use a torch. Got it just before it was turning yellow. It might have been a little yellow in it, some of the thinner parts. Took it out quickly, transferred to a pair of channel locks, set it on my tang in the right direction, made sure it was nice and flat as it went in. You can do it. It doesn't take a lot to do it. Once you've got it set and good on your knife, it's going to settle into place like it should. I took a piece of plate steel that I have cut out and welded to a round bar, so I get even distribution when I hit. So it's a 3/16 piece of plate steel that has been drilled out in the middle, as you would a guard, to accept that piece of steel to slide down over it. So you're getting even distribution across the surface of your guard. When I slide that over, I take a 2-pound flat hammer and pop it 2 or 3 times. I'm not holding that thing. I've got it stuck in a vise wrapped with leather and tape
right.
So I don't damage my blade. And
so first you get it yellow hot, and then you pick it up with your fingers.
Well, I'll get to that part. I'll get to that part. And then I take it out. I dip the tang. I drop the guard in my water. And then I just dip the tang in there just to cool it off, turn it over, take a Scotch-Brite to clean any forge scale off while it's still kind of warm. Comes off real easy off of that mild steel anyway. And slid it on there, and I had the most perfect fit, almost as if I was Kyle Royer using a dental tool and I'm not saying it was that perfect. It may have been. But it was just the most perfect inset fit you would ever do. So my knife is now sitting probably, because I went back and sanded and ground down a little bit, my knife is now probably sitting about a 64th into my guard. So it was just a perfect fit. I was very tickled with that. That's how I do it. I will tell you, make sure, because when steel starts to cool down, it eventually goes back to gray again, as Jason was referring to. Mm-hmm. And yes, it certainly is. Well, it very likely could be around 700 to 900 degrees still. Probably around 600 or 700.
It goes black at like 1,000 or 1,100.
Yeah. So I had the little 4-inch wide vice amble that sits on some of your vices. A little place to hammer there. Well, I had set it right there, and I reached over to grab it. I was going to slide it on the blade and just check it, and I had not quenched it. And I no longer have, which finger was? Yeah, I still have slightly white fingertips where I cooked my fingertips in a split second. Interestingly enough, I still picked it up and put it in the water. I don't know how I did. It was already there. It was in one motion, and rather than drop it, I still swung around and dropped it in the bucket and put my hand in the bucket as well. So
if you plan ahead next time and just grab it with all your fingers, just plan that in your schedule with your bank robbery.
Yeah.
It'll work out real good.
Oh, it will. Well, and did I tell you guys that I had to use my I had to program another finger for my iPad, which doesn't have facial recognition, because it was one of my I burned my fingerprint off, so it's coming back. But yeah, I do agree with that. That's a good one. And hey, if you I eat a lot of hot sauce. Matter of fact, I bought a second bottle of shit the bed. It's good hot sauce. Get you some shit the bed, but and I've learned I've adjusted to it so it doesn't kill me the next day or 6 hours later. But if you become accustomed to grabbing hot steel, and that's a professional move, guys. I don't advise this at home. I'm throwing away all my tongs. I'm just going to start reaching right into the forge and just hammer holding. The dexterity with your hands is wonderful. So I'll let you know how that holds up.
And you call yourself a safety guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Mark.
So I'll tell you, so probably really apparent for most folks, but as I was making my first hidden tang knife and I was doing my guard, I think I saw one of those that same video with Lynn Ray and said, "Wow, this is an amazing idea. I'm going to hot set my guard." What I have learned, right, is that when you are doing that with brass, it goes from the brass color to melting in about like a half a second once you reach this magical temperature. And so different than steel, as it kind of gets redder and redder and heats up and gets softer slowly. At least the brass that I had went from brass color to melting
real fast,
like that quick.
It'll turn like
So I have this.
Yeah.
That's right. It was like I couldn't believe it happened. That, and I was so the guard was perfect and it was really good, and I was just going to do that final hot set, and so that guard is still sitting on my table.
I have my very first knife that I melted in my earth forge. I dug a hole in the ground with charcoal and all, and I still have that setting in my shop, both pieces of it, just to remind me. Hey, how's your brother's Broadbeck working out, Jason?
I haven't heard any good stories yet.
You haven't heard any bad stories though.
I haven't heard any stories one way or the other.
There we go. Okay.
So I say it has come in. He put in his order and he did get it in. They drop shipped the motor and VFD separately from the grinder frame. Comes from somebody else. And I haven't checked back with it. He did get his grinder, but didn't have it set up last time we talked.
Facebook said, this is somebody you may want to be friends with. His last name was Fry. And I said, well, sure. And I found out, dang, if it wasn't your brother.
Gotta be suspicious.
I'll tell you what. But with that being said, hey, guys, Broadbeck also offers another great grinder out there. And Ryan Broadbeck's one of the nicest people in knife making as well. Forged and Fire contestant. You can find his company at BroadbeckIronworks.com. The Broadbeck grinder is one of the most versatile 2x72s on the market, guys. They offer build your own and fully assembled and painted grinders, but the Broadbeck 2x72 has an easy to assemble bolt together design that you can do at home. It has the capability to run the belt vertically or horizontally with little changeover time. I've even heard a rumor that Broadbeck may be coming out with a stand for their grinder this year. They're thinking about it, so we'll see. But if you're just starting a shop or looking to expand your current grinder capabilities, look no further. They offer a full line from the basic chassis to the fully capable variable speed with all the attachments you need. Got some good news for you. Tell your brother this, Jason. If he puts in Templars 10 at checkout, he gets 10% off parts and accessories at Broadbeck. So tell him to take advantage of that.
You bet.
Tell them take advantage. Well, we're kind of winding down. We're hitting the 2-hour mark. But before we do, Mark has been, he's got a new piece of equipment he's been using, and it is a tilt table. And how's that working out for you, Mark? Tell us a little bit about that and how people can use those and get along with them.
Yeah. So I've mentioned it a couple times. I finally started using it and mentioned it on a couple of episodes. But now I finally gotten to the point where now that I'm trying to get a couple more knives out and ready for the heat treat oven, I'm pushing more through. There was a couple of lessons, right? And so I think the very first lesson is that out of the box you need to make a couple slight modifications of really chamfering the bottom edge of the notch.
You get up closer to the belt that way, right? Yeah.
That's right. So you can get up close to the belt, because really the challenge that you'll have is that, if you have to if you can't get too close, then your knife has to go way up on the very edge of the table to meet the belt. And then sometimes
too far up away from
too far up, right?
From the platen. Yeah.
From the platen, right?
Before you go any further, let's tell people, if you email us at knivestemplars@yahoo.com, I'll forward your email to Mark, and he can maybe send you some photos or give you a description exactly how he beveled out his table. So I did the same thing. We both got that from Don Watson as well. And, but we'll be happy to send you some ideas on that. Go ahead, Bill, Mark.
Yeah. So that was my first thing. So I found that out. And so that helped quite a bit. You have to angle, I found the best results is angling both your platen back and your tilt table up, and using one of the nice little inexpensive digital angle gauges just to get that, get the angle that you're looking for, right? On there. The next thing I found is that your knife has to ride smooth across the table, right? And so I think it's important. I mean, again, we've talked about a couple of options of Teflon tape and different things, and I've tried some stuff, but I think for me, the key piece is that if you freshly ground your profile, if you have any little burrs that stick off the side of your knife, it's just to give it a nice ride with a magnet on your platen to make sure it's perfectly flat and smooth on each side. So when it rides along your notch table or your tilt table, that it's going to ride smooth. And I keep it, sprayed with, I tried a couple things. I have some graphite,
great idea.
Dry lube. And then I've tried some WD-40. I've been trying, a couple different versions to see what works. And,
works pretty good.
The silicone WD-40, I have that. So that works well. So I do that. I've also found that, one of the knives, I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to do it, but I had some questions. Can you use it on a recurve? And I found that, although it takes a little more practice, you just gotta, get the flow of your knife down on the tilt table. And so that works. That's something you can do. I thought that was going to be a limitation that you
So when you set this up though, the listeners will know, typically you're going to have your platen tilted back. And I don't remember if mine's maybe at 50 degrees or something like that. And then your tilt table is going to go up to it. But so you get that 7.35, whatever degree angle you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I think mine's like 3.2 degrees.
Angle, I use a digital angle gauge, and you put it on your platen and you zero it out. And then you put it on your tilt table and adjust your tilt table to 3 degrees, 4 degrees, whatever you're looking for. And that way it's the same as if you're, say using a grinding jig, and you turn it back to 3 degrees and go up against a 90-degree platen. So, you just have to remember, how do I calculate my angle so you just don't use your icrometers or eyeball it and not be happy with where your grinds need to be predictable where they're going to go up the blade. So, and I understand sometimes predictable can be, plus or minus wherever it ends up. Sometimes blades do, but so you've got a good ballpark. Zero out your platen with your angle gauge, whether it's digital or analog, and then after it zero it out, then go to your platen and set your degrees there, and you'll be right where you need to be.
Yeah, and so here's the next step that I found on it. If you're doing a hidden tang knife on there, do not grind your your shoulders, the side shoulders on your tang before you grind your bevels.
Oh, yes.
And so because what happens is that you do that, and then that little side catches on the edge of the notch or when you're going by, right? Because a lot of times you don't have a lot of flats. On that. And if you don't have a really good flat to sit it on, that little, half a mil or however much that is on your tang, is going to catch on the side of your table. So I got all kinds of frustrated with that. because it caught, and then my knife moved, and then it wasn't smooth, and then I had to redo it. So that was a lesson learned, that it didn't work that well.
One thing I learned, that's very important, because I found myself saying I need to wait sometimes before I cut out my tang, for that reason, but also because, you'll cut out your shoulders, but sometimes you cut in the sides, 20 thousandths or what is a dime width? About half the width of a dime. Yeah,
that's right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you're cutting out that
shoulders,
side.
Right? Yeah.
When I go to put them on, like my sanding jig I've got a TR Maker sanding jig now with a plate on it, and all of a sudden now your knife's cocked up at one angle, or you got to put a piece of leather or something under it, which is what I typically do if I've done that prior to. But keep that as flat and the same level as long as you can, or at least you don't have to worry about that thing shifting around on you. Can I give you another Templars tip?
Yeah.
So what I learned this week making my second guard. Well, this isn't my second guard. I've made several, but the second I've made for a knife like I made this week is that using my small wheels, rather than have to adjust my table, which is already at 90 degrees in this, that, and the other, I lift it up level to about where I need it, and then I put a piece of steel. I just use a piece of bar stock and a piece of knife bar stock that happened to be 3/16 when I got it. I clamped it onto my work rest, and then I went into my small wheels with that, so I got right up against it without it the guard tilting off the table because of the cutout area where it slides into a normal bell. So I could get a fraction of I was probably an eighth of an inch or less, but I was almost right up on it. And then I went, and when I was turning my guard left to right to kind of smooth it in where it rounded up into where the handle would go, to the flats, I got the most beautiful, and the only thing I can describe it as a feather pattern, just because of the way. Yeah. It
was like a star pattern.
I sanded some of it out, but not all of it out, because I loved the way it looked, and it was my knife. Maybe if I make one for a guild knife, I probably would need to clean it all up. But it was my knife, and it looked so pretty. I sanded it down just enough that it was smooth, and I was like, whoever turns this over and looks at that is going to see the most perfect little feather pattern or starburst coming out of there.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
cool.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna use that. The metal.
It was wonderful there. Because the first one I made, I had probably 3/16 or a little more, and I'm trying to hold that guard, and it's tilting back and forth. So then I'm trying to hold it with my fingers. I just got rid of the table altogether and freehand did it. And then this time it just hit me, and I'm like, well, that's how I get up in there. So yeah, it worked beautifully. Just clamp it on and you're good to go. Templars tip.
I would like to say, so I have my work rest tilts around. It's not it's just multi-adjustable. And I don't typically, I freehand almost everything, just as a matter of, that's just how I grew up knife making. But I learned from Owen Wood, actually, another world-class guy, that you can use that work rest as a hand rest.
Yes.
Right? So your ability to grind cleanly with your hands on that work rest is a whole nother level beyond your ability to grind cleanly free-handed.
Right.
And I've freehand ground, like I said, my whole career. And that learning that changed my approach.
Yeah.
Substantially. So your ability to put your hands on that tool rest as a rest.
That's great. That's great.
It's huge.
That's a great idea.
If you're not into like I got to have an angle thing and tip it, and but don't neglect your work rest just because you don't think you have all the stuff.
Yeah. Anything you can do to stabilize yourself. That's a great ergonomic tip as well. Speaking of Owen Wood, I owe Oleg Bashkovich some wood over at knife-wood.com. Yeah. How about that for a segue?
Well played.
Yeah, I've only got like 3 blocks left, so I got to go out and spend. My wife allots me this much money a month. I'm not going to tell you; you guys would laugh to spend on things. So I earn a paycheck, and then she tells me what I can spend out of it, which is the best thing, which is the very best thing in my life. I'm not arguing with that. But Oleg makes some great stabilized wood, and he ships it from Russia to your home. Or I know you can get it up at Maritime Knife Supply at maritimeknifesupply.com. But once you use his products, you will be sold on the quality, artistic ability, and his customer service. Birch, maple, walnut in many patterns, burls, and colors will make your knives pop. I said pop amongst your fellow makers' blades. You go out and put a decent handle on it. It's 2 equally ground beautiful knives, one with a beautiful handle and one it's not. It's like having Mark at the beach in a Speedo. He's going to look much better than in an Ocean Pacific cargo pair of shorts than he is in a Speedo. So you got to put the right clothes on that knife. That's all I got to say. And with that, also I want to say. I didn't mention, Eric Rivers is down at Texas Select this weekend with his wife, Nisha, selling all their knives they can. You need to visit the Rivers Experience at theriversexperience.com. That's his website and his knife brand. Let Eric from Rivers Experience teach you the finer arts of knife making, not only on his website, but on YouTube and the TRE Workshop on Facebook. YouTube, he has live events where he's out forging knives from a piece of steel to a full finished knife at the end. I would say full finished forged, full forged knife, not full finished knife. And then he's got Tuesdays where he comes on and he does, is it knife? What is it? Shop Talk. I want to say Knife Talk. And that wasn't right. Shop Talk Tuesday, where he's got all types of videos out there. I actually learned a lot of knife making techniques watching those early on, and of course the TRE Workshop on Facebook, where you can join in the fun with that community video instruction and online live events. So check him out at theriversexperience.com or TRE Workshop on Facebook or the Rivers Experience on YouTube. Be a lot of fun if you did. All right. Hey, guys, we've hit the 2 hour and 11-minute mark. This was pretty easy. This flew by. But I want to say,
did.
Oh, yeah. Good show.
Good discussion.
Questions, comments, product reviews, show and guest ideas. Subscribe and email us at theknivestemplars@yahoo.com. Or you can DM us on Facebook at the Knives Templars Podcast Group. You can visit us at theknivestemplars.com to always stay up to date. Our episode is sponsored by the Rivers Experience, Redeem Steel, knife-wood.com, Ameribraid, and Templars 20 for parts and accessories, Majestic Forge, Pop's Knife Supplies, Maritime Knife Supply, House Made, and Phoenix Abrasives, and their Templars 10 at 10% off on your order. Broadback Ironworks, and they also offer 10% off parts and accessories. Our availability is iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, Anchor, Amazon, YouTube Video, and CastBox. List of resources, suggested materials, and social media handles. See us at the Knives Templars Podcast on Facebook or at knivestemplars.com. Again, thank you for joining us. You make us important, and we enjoy talking to you. With that, all I have to say is good night. And guys, well, you're supposed to say something here, guys.
Good night.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Quality base here. The Eagle has landed.
Brought to you by Porkhouse Productions.
That's my favorite part.
Oinky, oinky, oinky.
Yeah.
Jason, I'm worried. I don't hear the kids. Is everybody safe?
They're all okay. So something interesting did happen, and I knew it was going to. So my son in the Marines just got home.
Ooh, yeah.
He hasn't been home except for a few days at Christmas since he got out of boot camp last Christmas, pretty much. So he just got home. We knew he was going to get home about 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go hug his neck and see how he's doing. Hadn't seen him in a long time.
Well,
he's here for almost 3 weeks. So.
Well, we're going to jump off here real quick so you can go do that, because that is of the utmost importance. But
it's a big deal.
It is. I was trying not to cough at the end of that. That's why I was rushing through. I could feel it in my throat. So anyway, we survived it. We survived it. So, guys, good night. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. I'm headed to Batson's Blade Symposium tomorrow. I hope to have some more to talk about that when we come back. And Mark, looking forward to seeing some knives come out of your shop with that brand new oven you got. And Jason, I know what you're making in your shop. So does Mark. And we can't wait to see you present that to the world. And with that being said,
it's going to be interesting.
An official adios, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Good night.
Adios.
All right. Good night.